Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this morning. We have a great opportunity for you to meet a fine guest. Our guest this morning will be Mike Knox from White Harvest Seed Company, and he'll be joining with us in a few minutes. Before we get into our main discussion this morning, I do want to make you folk aware of a couple of quick issues. One, in our bullet points this morning, there is a recent lawsuit filed in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and it matters to you. The case is related to Montana's Firearms Freedom Act. And the reason it matters is because many, many other states have instituted also a similar bill or the same exact bill. And Missouri, if you're not aware, has currently under legislative review House Bill 436 and Senate Bill 325, which I hope each of you have filled out a witness form for. Now, if you haven't, make sure that you do so, because the Senate version of this bill is scheduled to be discussed and debated tomorrow. And so it is critically important that you fill these witness forms out. When the House met to discuss it, on Senate Bill or House Bill 436, which is the Firearms Preservation Act, which is even stronger, by the way, than the Firearms Freedom Act, they walked in there with 1,260 forms in hand, and it absolutely made a huge difference. That shows that these legislators have the authority and the power and the backing of the grassroots activist individuals, and that is more than telephone calls and emails and all the rest of that can provide. So it really gives them a lot of strength, and it gives them a lot of ammunition in their kit bag, so to speak, so that when they walk into these hearings, they have the opportunity to say, look, I've got a 4-inch or a 5-inch or a 6-inch pile of individuals who are interested in pursuing in what we're doing here and have taken an active role in commenting on this legislation. And, most legislators, they get 1 or 2 or 5 phone calls about something. When they walk in there with 1,260 of them, trust me, people are listening. So make sure that you get out there to fill out your witness form for the Senate Bill 325, which is being heard tomorrow. There's also a witness form out there for the Healthcare Freedom Act, which will basically obliterate Obamacare in Missouri. I'll put both of those up on the web for you on our Facebook page. What's important about this particular case is that this gunfight, and that's exactly what it is, has now hit the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And basically at issue is the Montana Firearms Freedom Act, which essentially has basically states that any firearm manufactured in that state is not subject to federal limits and regulation. What's important about that for you is that depending upon how the Ninth Circuit rules upon this case, it may either go and be remanded back to the lower court for a discovery, which is what they're seeking, or it may immediately be sent up to the Supreme Court or appealed to the Supreme Court level. In either event, what's critically important here is that we have an opportunity for the Supreme Court to rule on states' rights. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the linchpin, the hinge pin to this entire issue. It is imperative that we have the Supreme Court make a declaration, and sooner rather than later, relating to states' ability to determine their own fate, not only in intrastate commerce, but in the principle of nullifying federal legislation that states do not want to be mandated to monitor or follow. If you're aware of the concept of nullification and interposition, this is a perfect example of it. And so is House Bill 436 and Senate Bill 325, our own Firearms Preservation Act. Essentially, it says that a law passed by the federal government, if it is unconstitutional, the states can declare it null and void on its face. And that is essentially where this is headed. I encourage you to read the story, which is up on our Facebook and on our direct website. and make sure that you are fully informed about what's happening in the courts in relation to this particular issue, because it is a critical one for the movement of restoration of our state sovereignty, and here in Missouri, and for other states around the nation. There are a lot of states that have passed the Firearms Freedom Act, and a couple of quick comments. The judges admitted that the Montana strategy under the Firearms Freedom Act is, quote, like a declaration of independence. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a really, really impressive statement coming from judges. That the Montana strategy is like a declaration of independence. Marbut, who is arguing the case before the judges, stated that the judges seemed bored with the Department of Justice arguments, that he didn't have standing in the case because he was not yet actually manufacturing any weapons within the state of Montana. And his comment was that we need to get to the U.S. Supreme Court in order to overturn a century of bad Commerce Clause precedent. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the entire crux of the issue. So if you're not familiar with it, the number of states are Tennessee, Utah, Wyoming, South Dakota, Arizona, Idaho, Alaska, and there are 23 other states who have submitted similar legislation for a total of 31 jurisdictions where it's either been enacted or introduced under the Firearms Freedom Act. This is an opportunity, and I'm heartened by the principle that states are beginning to take back their constitutional privileges and rights. The 10th Amendment very clearly states, and it states without equivocation, that states are independent and sovereign, and those limited opportunities and I should say limited abilities that we have given our federal government are expressly limited. Now, unfortunately, we've seen a lot of overreach in the last 100 years from our federal government. And I'm seeing a groundswell of movement from states to basically, this is the step between secession and what you would call independent sovereignty and state declarations of independence. And quite honestly, it is the one thing that we can do short of seceding. This is the perfect solution. It is peaceful, it is lawful, and it is a well-accepted maxim in the political and in the legal world that states have a right to basically opt out or nullify federal regulation. Going back all the way to the Alien and Sedition Act, which you've heard me talk about repeatedly, where Jefferson and Madison actually wrote the declarations that their states in Virginia and Kentucky were essentially separate from and apart from federal legislation relating to unconstitutional mandates. So that's my bullet points for this morning. I would certainly like for you to visit our Facebook page, which you can find at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. You'll also be able to find this and every other episode that we do up on YouTube. You can find those by going to youtube.com/America's Voice Now. And you can find us direct on the web and find all of our links and stories and information on our own direct website. You can go there by simply visiting americasvoicenow.org. So, without further ado, we are going to bring on this morning a special guest. Mike Knox is the owner and the purveyor of White Harvest Seed Company. Now, White Harvest Seed is an heirloom seed producer and seller. They have a great suite of products. I've met Mike a number of times in the past, and he's quite a nice fella. I think you'll enjoy this opportunity we have to discuss the issue of heirloom seeds, what they are, how they operate, where you can obtain them, why you want them. And his website is whiteharvestseed.com. That's whiteharvestseed.com. They're located in Hartville, Missouri, and so they're a local family-owned business. Great opportunity for you to learn about a local community business that you can support and obtain a great product from. So we're going to take our quick break. When we return, we'll be joined by Mike, and we will ask him questions. We'll get his answers, and we'll open up our phone lines in the latter portion of our discussion so that you can ask your own questions direct. You're listening to America's Voice Now. We'll be back in just a moment.
The people who care at Trollinger Construction in West Plains would like to take this special time out to recognize and salute the men and women in uniform who are standing tall for our political and economic freedom around the globe. Let's remember them in our thoughts, prayers, and letters from home. That's courtesy of Trollinger Construction, your complete contractors with a reputation for quality work at prices you can afford. That's Trollinger Construction in West Plains, where they're on the air because they care.
I know what you're thinking, Punk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5?
Dirty Harry gets all his ammo from the battery station. John Rambo, you guessed it. He gets his ammo from the battery station, too. So if you need ammo, go to the place where the guys who know about ammunition go, the battery station. They have one of the largest supplies of ammunition in the area. So make sure you're stocked up and don't get low on shells. Go to the battery station at 303 Washington Avenue in West Plains.
All right. Good morning. We are back. We're going to be joined by Mike Knox this morning from White Harvest Seed Company. Good morning, Mike. Are you with us?
Yeah, you bet. It's good to be here, Mike.
Well, thank you very much for joining with us. I appreciate it. And you sound awful chippy this morning. I bet you have set your clocks back and you've done your duty as a good clockwork citizen.
You bet. Yeah, it's one of those times here in the Ozarks, you just got to get up and go and get going sometimes when you've got all this work to do.
I gotcha. So you are the owner and purveyor of White Harvest Seed Company. You folks specialize in heirloom type seeds. And so what I'd like to do is to kind of inform our audience about what heirloom seeds are, why you want them, why they're important to you, how you can use them. And then we might be able to maybe take some calls in the last couple of minutes of the show so that if anyone has specific questions, they can kind of address them directly with you. Would that work?
Sounds fine. I'll give them an answer. I don't know if it'll be the right one, but we'll give them an answer.
Let's start with the basic premise of heirloom seeds. Tell us where heirloom seeds come from, what they are, why they're important to us.
Essentially, Mike, the thought on heirloom seeds is this: it's the vegetables or the plants that will grow true to type for at least 50 years is kind of the general accepted terminology on that. That if you plant a red Brandywine tomato, and then you save the seed from it, the next year you want a red Brandywine tomato. You don't want something that's going to be totally different or not even grow at all. So when heirlooms, when they are saved properly, will then make that same true to type produce year after year. Whereas you can't do that with hybrid seed or GMO seed. Though if you save the seed from those items, it's going to grow something totally different than what you planted that year. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And with the way the economy's going and the way the things in the world look, the importance of saving seeds is the key factor for heirloom seeds.
Absolutely. So on the concept of heirloom, basically you save the seeds from whatever you've planted. The following year, you're going to get what you expected to get rather than something alternative. I'm not a farmer. And I'm the first to admit that. In fact, I'm a plant killer, but and not willfully, just by natural selection.
We'll have to work on that.
You're going to have to work on that because I got a black thumb. The issue for the idea of hybrid seed. Can you explain to us what happens when you try to replant a hybrid seed?
Well, essentially, not to get too technical, to get a hybrid seed, they take two varieties of plants and they will cross-pollinate, which you can do with open-pollinated. The heirlooms variety is the same way. But the things they do with the hybrids, they work in different ways, and they cause, you do get some benefits. There is an argument out there that, with a hybrid you may get better increased, more yield possibly, more bug resistance, more disease resistance, and some issues. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, and in the plant kingdom and in the technical side, which we won't get into today, but when you resave that seed, it reverts back to the parent crosses of what they crossed originally. So if you take most people are familiar with big boy tomatoes. That's a hybrid. So they've crossed two other items, and I'm not sure which plants they do that with, but say it's an early girl and a better boy, per se. And so when you save that seed from that hybrid, it reverts back to one of those gene traits when you save the seed from it, but most of the time it will be a sterile plant, and it will not produce fruit.
Right. And that's the problem.
Right, exactly.
I mean, basically you end up with a plant that grows but produces nothing.
Exactly. And that's not your purpose in saving seeds. You want to make have a good food source.
I mean, if I'm growing those to eat, I'm expecting them to produce something that is that I can eat.
Exactly.
So, you actually have a store where you sell a number of different products, one of which is these survival seed kits. So tell us a little bit about that, because to me, especially in light of our political situation, in light of our economic situation, in light of inflation, and we've all seen what the price of produce has done in the stores of recent time. I think this concept of survival seed, and it doesn't necessarily even have to. You don't have to wait for a cataclysm to start using these. But the idea is that you've got all of the basic seeds that you would want and or need in a specific bundled package, and you sell these for different size packages. Give us a little bit of an understanding on the basic and the large.
Sure. When we first designed these, we weren't the originator of this idea. I don't claim that. We don't claim that.
Sure.
But when we looked at this and when we started our business, we looked around at some other seed kits, and there's some out there that purport to last 50 years, or some that they'll say they have 60,000 seeds in their kits, and we looked at all these things, and we thought some of these things that were included in it were they were putting asparagus seed. Asparagus is a great vegetable, but it takes 3 years to grow to get your first harvest from. In reality,
So
in a survival kit,
we're not going to last that long.
Exactly. You want something that's going to be able to grow maybe like lettuce or greens in 30 days. You're going to have something to eat on, and then your regular crops, the beans and corn, which are going to be in the 60 to 100-day range. So so when we looked at our kits and were looking into making ours, we just decided let's see what people really, really want to have in their kits, what they usually grow in their backyard gardens, None of this weird stuff that looks good or smells good and you just taste like crud. We wanted stuff that you could get good protein and nutrients from, and so we handpicked varieties that we thought would do that. And our concept isn't so much to give you 60,000 seeds. We give you multiple years of gardens, but to teach people to grow their products and save seeds from, and have a high germination rate year after year after year. So that's ours in a nutshell. And we had 2 kits. We have a basic, which has 30 varieties, and then we for $40, and then we have a larger variety, a larger kit that has 40 varieties for $50, and it has a lot more greens and stuff like that in it. So that's it in a nutshell.
I'm just going to throw these out so that people grasp what's in these. Bush bean, broccoli, carrot, sweet corn, kale, melon, onions, other greens, hot peppers, rutabaga, spinach, winter squash, watermelon, beets, cabbage, cucumbers, dent corn, lettuce mix, okra, oriental greens, peas, sweet peppers, radish mix, summer squash, and tomatoes. So basically what you're doing is you're incorporating the kinds of things that we're going to use every day in an average meal, and nothing esoteric or exotic. Basically, this is just the staples for living.
You bet. And what the thing about on tomatoes, some of the kits out there, they just have one tomato variety in their kit. Well, we have 4 different varieties, which is we have a couple slicers, a cherry, and then a paste tomato. All these in there, so it's not just one variety; it's multiple varieties of things to give you, a better smorgasbord to eat off of when you have your produce.
So you have tomatoes and tomatoes, right? I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
We call it maters.
Maters. Okay, so you got maters, tomatoes, and tomatoes. Now you have a general store where you carry a suite of other products, including books, fertilizers, some gardening tools, and some natural homemade soap and things like that. Everybody can order online, correct? I mean, including these seed packets and individual packets of seed.
That is exactly right. You can order online, over the phone, through the mail, just any way you can generally. And we do accept credit cards, so that's the way we can do it through the online.
Sure.
The products that we're adding, we just kind of getting back into the homemade soap and some tools. We just got picked up a new product line, which is the soap is all goat milk soap, and it's all natural, and it's a wonderful, wonderful product. And we just got tapped into a new tool market called the Rogue Hoe, and I tell you what, it's a quality product, all American made. Everything on this tool is American made, and it has so many different varieties. So we're really excited. We'll be adding those to the website very, very shortly.
Great. Now, you've got the other thing I like about your site is that you have like a blog there where you've got resources for people to get planting guides, different links that are important, of course, if you're looking for information. You have a location where there's different retailers who also carry your products as well. So
Correct.
It's not necessary for them to actually physically, drive out to your place. But you've got locations in Hartville, of course, your primary location, but Mansfield and Seymour and Gainesville and so forth, Springfield and so forth. But the idea being that, you folks have a lot of information and resources on here. Tell me about your special programs. You've got a Give a Garden program. Tell me what that is.
That's a program that's kind of near and dear to our heart. When we started our business, and we're just a family-owned business. We're a family of 8, counting my grandkids. But we started. We wanted to help folks. One of the things that I always tell folks when I speak at seminars or whatever is I wish I'd had somebody that I could have went to years and years ago when I was starting a garden and working in a garden and didn't know anything, and to ask them questions, And it seemed like back then you either had to, you had to buy something to get something. And what I tell folks is, we want to help you be successful in your gardens. And if you want to call us someday and you have a problem with a bug or disease, feel free to call us. You don't have to order any seed packet or anything like that. We want to help you be successful. And that's what the Give a Garden program ties into with if people have a charitable organization and they want to have donation of seeds that they're wanting to grow. We've to kind of give you an example, we've had like 4 or 5 different programs that we have contributed to all over the United States, back to the East Coast, West Coast, that they're just doing victory gardens, teaching folks in the inner city how to plant gardens, and they needed seed products, and so they were limited budgets, and so we sent them seed, and they have just responded, and they just love it, and
Sure.
that people in those inner cities are learning it how to grow food for themselves. And that's essentially what the Give a Garden program is.
The principle of the victory garden is one that we've lost in this country.
Exactly.
And, in Europe, the victory garden was every family had a small plot out behind their place, whether it was 5 by 5 or whether it was, 50 by 50.
Right.
But every family had a small plot that would either grow herbs or vegetables and what have you, because during the war years in World War II, there just wasn't a supply of vegetables and products that you could grow yourself. And we've forgotten the principles of that. I mean, you hear a lot of folks say, well, I've got a little herb garden or whatever on a windowsill. But the idea of the victory garden, in my opinion, especially for folks that are either self-reliant and or involved in preparation and or storing and preserving food for long term. My daughter, as an example, she dehydrates all of her own, all the things she grows. And then she makes up her own packets of foods so that she's got everything already premixed in a bag. She seals it in a vacuum sealed bag. Literally, if she wants to make a meal, she can cut this bag open, add water, and boom, instant meal. And I think that's a wonderful concept. It's a wonderful idea. And, I wish a lot more Americans would follow it, because it would give us an opportunity to, one, know what's in our food supply and our food source,
Right.
which is really important,
Exactly.
2, it gives you the opportunity to save a lot of money. And I mean a lot of money. Look at the price of produce and how it's gone up in the last couple of years. And, we can hear the government telling us there's no inflation, but all you got to do is go to the store and know they're lying through their teeth.
Exactly. Yeah, there's. I've got a lady that sent me a video or a news story of a place down in Louisiana, and to make a long story short, with all the weather conditions out in California and Arizona, where most of the produce comes from this time of year, they're having some major issues, and they were talking that the food prices in the grocery store are going to go up 3 to 4 times here just within this next month.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of dire out there right now.
I get
really
it.
is.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, maybe we can take some calls on our Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline. Folks, if you're interested, you can call us at 257 251-1111 and 866-554-6636. You can ask questions directly of Mike, and we'll make sure we give out all the reach information for his website and for his Facebook page, telephone numbers, and all of that kind of thing. Folks, we'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to America's Voice Now, and with Mike from White Harvest Seed Company. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Salchi Ingrasso. It looks like another insider attack in Afghanistan. It happened today at a police headquarters in Wardak province.
The police officer stood up in the back of a pickup truck, grabbed hold of a machine gun and started firing at visiting U.S. forces. It sparked a firefight, leaving 2 U.S. troops dead as well as 2 Afghan policemen and the attacker.
Fox News Radio's Emily Withard. Countdown to the Catholic Cardinals Conclave.
This morning, the Cardinals wrapped up their last meeting discussing pressing issues facing the church before the conclaves begin its secret voting tomorrow afternoon.
And who's getting the most early support?
Cardinal Angelo Scola of Milan is seen in pole position, together with Cardinal Odilo Scheer from Brazil, the country with the largest number of Catholics in the world. But New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan is gaining in support.
Fox Radio's Courtney Walsh in Rome. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Visit our outstanding sponsors, West Plains Pawn, located on Route 160, about a mile past Walmart on the right-hand side. West Plains Pawn can be found on the web at westplainspawn.com. You can also reach them via telephone at 417-256-3000. The battery station at 303 Washington Avenue, right off the square in West Plains. They can be reached via telephone at 417-257-7799. They can also be found on the web at batterystation.com. My friends at Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance. Brian can be reached at 870-492-4030, and he's located at 3225 Route 62, 1/2 mile east of Walmart in Mountain Home. Make sure that you visit our friends over at Pizza Hut on Porter Wagoner Boulevard in West Plains. They have an outstanding lunch special buffet. You can have salad as well as pizza and other pasta, so you can have something tasty and something healthy. Bill Stone over at Stone Construction at 2930116. Bill Stone does remodeling, custom and new construction, light commercial, farm work, pretty much the gamut. If you're interested in doing some kind of a new project, make sure that you give Bill Stone at Stone Construction an opportunity to bid on that job. And my dear friend, Mary, over at Chantilly's Artisan Bakery, number 2 Evans Arcade, right off the square in West Plains. She can be reached via telephone at 255-2253. She's got the best damn bakery in 100 miles. And thanks so much to our phone line sponsor, Jason over at Wits End Classic Barbershop. You can call us on the Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline. He is on the square in West Plains. Excellent opportunity for you to get your hair cut. Get over there and visit.
From Bob Dylan to Whitney Houston to Alicia Keys, he has seen it all on the next Alan Combs Show. From humble beginnings, he became one of the most powerful men in the music industry. Legend Clive Davis is here with a behind-the-scenes look at 5 decades in the business, plus what happens to your hard-earned dollars when you give them to charity on the next Alan Combs Show.
Weekdays 9 to midnight, it's the Alan Combs Show on the Ozarks Best News Talk, 107.1 The Point.
Weather is a service of News Talk 107.1 The Point. Contact Josh or Cody at 255-2548 for more information on making weather sponsorships part of your marketing plans.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, we'll have a mostly cloudy sky. It becomes partly sunny as we head through the day, high 44. Mainly clear tonight, low 28. Sunshine for tomorrow, high 54 degrees. It'll be mostly sunny on Wednesday with a high of 52. I'm staff meteorologist Jim Rinaldi, and for more information, visit my1071thepoint.com.
The media is destroying itself, and they're destroying our country and our children's future at the same time. You cannot exist as a free people if you cannot reason for yourself. You cannot exist as a free people if you don't know how to critically think. You cannot exist as a free people if you have a corrupt press. You cannot. It doesn't work.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Weekdays from 2 to 5, it's Glenn Beck on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
All right. Our phone lines are jamming, and so we're going to try to get to some of your calls. If you are interested in speaking with Mike Knox from White Harvest Seed Company, if you've got a question, a comment, an opinion, by all means, give us a shout, and you can call us on our Wits End Classic Barbershop hotline. That telephone number is 257-1111 if you're local, and if you're out in the hinterlands, you can give us a shout at 866-554-6636. Welcome to the show, caller.
Yeah, Yes, I just wanted to point out that the Rogue Hoe tools are produced right here locally, Kabul, Missouri. They make all kinds of trail building tools. I mean, and their hoes are really heavy duty.
Right. Those are the ones that you're selling, right, Mike?
That is correct. We just added them online. They're good friends of ours, have got that business down there in Kabul area and Phyllis. And, yeah, it's a wonderful product. And I tell you what, we have done very well with it at the shows we've been taking it to lately.
That's great news. And what I'm really liking to hear is that we're selling a product that's built right here in our own community, because that, to me, is the epitome of how we plan as a community to work together. So that's great news. Thank you, Glenn, for that.
I thought I'd throw that in there. Bye.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show. Do you have a question?
Hey, Mike and Mike, it's Mike.
Hey, Mike. How are you?
Doing great. Hey, I was in Springfield a couple of weeks ago, went to a new store that sells self-reliance items and bulk foods. And I was happy to see White Harvest seeds on sale there, and they said they were their best seller.
Cool beans. That's good news.
And to give another plug here, you all know my wife teaches OSLU classes, had one on gardening this weekend. And
yes.
She considers White Harvest to be one of the best seed companies in our area.
Outstanding.
Well, I appreciate that.
And not only that, but White Harvest Seeds got all kinds. They got a blog out there with all kinds of information, answering questions, how-tos. One of the first ones at the top is soaking seeds for faster germination. So, if you're one of those people with a black thumb like me and you're trying to figure out why is it that these pesky things will not grow, Mike has got some answers for you right over there. Thank you, Mike, for that call. Appreciate it.
Hey, Mike.
Yes, sir.
One last thing, since it's the only chance I'll have, let me plug the Common Sense Property Rights Group meeting tonight in Thayer.
That's correct. At the Spring Dipper, right? Yep.
Yes, Jerry King from Voice of the Ozarks will be our guest, and we are hoping you'll join us also.
Yep, and Jerry King will be joining us on the radio. If you can't make it to that event, Jerry King will be joining us on the radio later this week. So it'll be an opportunity for you folks to get involved in the Property Rights Coalition organization. Make sure that you're participating tonight. What time is that, Mike?
6 o'clock at the Spring Dipper on
6
Highway
o'clock?
63.
Spring Dipper, Highway 63 down in Mammoth Spring. So make sure that you are, if you're in that area and you're that would be your local chapter, you can join there or visit there. And there's one in Mountain View, and then there's one down in Arkansas as well. So let's make sure that we are participating in those local groups. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi.
I am an older lady. I used to garden all the time and stuff. Having a bit of difficulty getting around, can't stand up for long periods of time. Do they have any suggestions for other than raised beds and stuff, which I couldn't put together myself and stuff? Do they have any suggestions as how that we could raise some stuff to eat ourselves, even if we're a little physically handicapped?
That's a good question, Mike.
That is a great question, and you touched on it. The raised bed concept is something that you can grow tremendous amounts of food in a small amount of area. We're tied in with another guy that we do work with quite frequently. Actually, I did a seminar with him at his class just over the weekend up in Stratford, Missouri, and it's called Gardening Revolutions. And he uses raised bed systems where, just to give you a kind of example, they get 100 quarts of green beans off of a 4-foot by 16-foot bed a year. They had the guys last year getting over 250-plus pounds of tomatoes off of one plant in this system. So it's something definitely to check out. It's gardeningrevolutions.com. But if you can't do a raised bed, golly, you can do containers just on your back porch. Get some of those big flower pots. You can grow lettuce. You can grow radishes, beets, something that will grow quick and fast in those areas.
Ma'am, do you have a deck off the back of your home?
No, I don't.
You don't? Yeah, you've got a front yard, I'm assuming.
Yeah, if you call it that.
Okay. Well, if you've got access to sunlight, you can grow. I think that's the point. And here's basically what you can do. You can, and if you're having a lot of difficulty, trying to get some help. You mentioned, are you alone by yourself?
Pretty much so, yes.
Okay. Why don't you send me an email to Mike? Do you have email access?
I don't have a computer.
Okay. I'll tell you what, when we get off the air, or when we get off this call, stay on hold. I'll give you my phone number. Okay. What I'll do is I'll send out an email and see if we can't get somebody out there to give you a hand maybe. But what we can do is help you at least get things up at a point where, you don't have to bend over too far, and if you're handicapped and that kind of thing. So, what you can do, though, is, and my wife does this, she grows tomato plants in 5-gallon buckets. and quite successfully, I might add. So, it's not like there aren't ways to accomplish what you're trying to do. You just maybe need a little bit of help to get it off the ground. Does that sound about right?
That sounds good.
I got you. So, Mike, maybe you don't mind just kind of giving us a description. Ma'am, hang on a second. I'm going to put you on hold for a moment.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, maybe you can kind of give us a description on some of the tips that you would have for folks that are looking to do some raised bed gardening. And I'm going to just grab her real quick and get her phone number and see if we can't give her a hand.
Well, okay, great. The raised bed thing, the key to it is having soil that is very loose and light. This gentleman's method that he uses up here in Stratford, he uses a soilless mix, which is peat moss, cottonseed burr, and rice hulls, and you mix that all together, and it makes a very light, loose medium, and the plants just thrive in it. And he has a special fertilizer mix that you can get, or you can just use your own compost type things, and that's what it generally takes. Plants, some people get in this thing where the old school method where you have to plant it in the ground and have 3-foot rows in between things, and it has to look like Better Homes and garden pictures that you see in the magazine. And in reality, it's getting to the point we need to stop worrying about looks and start worrying about production.
Yeah.
And so
Here to that. Let's start worrying about what we're actually putting on the table and whether or not we're meeting a photography qualification, right?
Right.
I'm firmly in agreement with you there. And, the raised bed garden is the kind of thing that you can do with a few railroad ties, even some landscape ties. Build it up a little bit, find a spot in your yard that maybe is already got a dip in it, and basically you can just do a quick build it up a little bit where you can get to it without actually having to do so much stooping and bending over. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike. This is Dean in Viola.
Hi, how are you?
That lady hit on a subject that I've been dealing with here for a few years. I'm disabled. I got a bad back. And one thing I looked into was containers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go around to various recycling places, there's one in Koshkonong up in Missouri. They're all over the place where they have these large, I think they're 50 or 55-gallon barrels that are made of, heavy-duty plastic.
Right.
You cut them in half, and you automatically have two 25-gallon or at least 20-gallon containers.
Sure.
That will hold a lot of soil. There's a bunch of different ways to do it, but the one thing that's a big issue down here is the lack of rainfall.
Right.
And there is a method to create a small reservoir in the bottom of the pot by not having bottom draining holes, but putting your drain holes on the side of the pot instead.
I see what you're saying. Right. So put them up 3 or 4 inches. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're right. Those barrels, I see those blue barrels and metal barrels all over the place. Just cut them in half and boom, you got two great sized containers that you can get multiple plants in.
Right. I grew 3 tomato plants, for example, in one pot. They all bore heavily, and I put them in late. I planted really late last year because I thought I was moving.
Yeah.
So I put my plants in July, and I got more tomatoes off my plants than my neighbor who had planted them in May.
Wow. That's very good. Hey, thanks for that tip. I appreciate that.
Sure enough, Mike.
Thanks so much. Mike, you have a thing on your soaking seeds for faster germination. We're gonna have a break coming in a minute, but after we come back, maybe you can give me a quick explanation before we wrap up on why hydrogen peroxide helps boost germination. Because to me, that's almost like two things that shouldn't be together: seeds and peroxide. I don't know. It's just I think of peroxide as kind of like a caustic thing, and maybe I'm wrong, but to me, it almost is counterintuitive.
I'll be glad to explain that.
So, okay, we're going to have a break coming up, and, go ahead. You got a minute or so before that, so just toss in.
Well, saving seeds elements is essentially what that is going to be. There's a kind of a twofold thing here. When you save seeds, especially on peppers and tomatoes, a lot, especially on tomatoes, there's usually a jelly-like substance around the seeds, and when you clean them out and you go through the processing process, it ferments that coating off the seeds. and essentially that's what the hydrogen peroxide is doing on the peppers. So it softens the coat for one, but it's also killing any soil-borne disease or fungus disease that's in that or on that seed, and it's just a way to clean the seed nicely before you put it in the
Well, I was always taught that you got to get that gooey jelly, and we're going to have to hit this one after the break, but I was always taught you got to take that gooey jelly off the tomato seeds before you were able to dry them out and store them. So if you don't mind hanging on for this quick break, and you can kind of give me a quick, correct me where I'm wrong here, because I'm sure that I am. So, folks, we're speaking with Mike Knox from White Harvest Seed Company this morning. His website is whiteharvestseed.com. Local business right in Hartville, Missouri. Make sure that you visit these folks, because their website, and we'll get more information about where you can communicate with them. They've got a website that is just a wealth of information. We'll be right back.
The area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry. Top-of-the-line handguns from Kimber, Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Glock, Beretta, and many more. A wide selection of ammunition, including blanks, centerfire handgun and rifle, rimfire, a variety of shotgun shells, target, and turkey. With new arrivals every week, the area's best selection of firearms and ammunition can only be found at West Plains Pawn and Jewelry, 1713 West U.S. Highway 160, or shop online at westplainspawn.com.
There is this product on Amazon that is simply going crazy. The banana slicer, almost 2,500 consumer reviews. I've been trying to come up with an ideal way to slice a banana. Use a knife, they say. Well, my parole officer won't let me around knives. Or how about this one? What can I say about the banana slicer that hasn't already been said about the wheel or penicillin? Obviously, just a pure hoax.
Saturdays noon to 3 and weekdays at 7:35 for your digital minute. It's Kim Commando on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1.
Another year older, another birthday blood. Not when you're listening to the Birthday Club here on 107.1, The Point each morning during the morning show. Proudly presented by Ryan's Family Restaurant. Call in your loved ones, your mom, dad, grandma, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, nieces, whoever, for their chance to be the winner of a great buffet and drink from Ryan's Family Restaurant. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you from 107.1, The Point and Ryan's Family Restaurant.
Last time on the Dennis Miller Show.
I'm looking for any opportunity to scream racist now. Because it's a new fun game, and it helps dilute it to the point where it matters about as much as it should right now. I mean, folks, I know. Whole world, bad record with other human beings on every level. And things are getting better. And guess what? Here's the other empirical truth. We'll never be perfect, but we're on the better side of it. Racist!
Weekdays from 9 till noon, it's the Dennis Miller Zone.
All right, we are back with Mike from White Harvest Seed Company, and I want to make sure that you folks get an opportunity to understand where they're located and how you can communicate. Their website is whiteharvestseed.com, and their toll-free telephone number is 866-424-3185. That's 866-424-3185. They're located at 1744 Pyatt Road in Hartville, Missouri, and that's 65667. Mike, do you have a Facebook page?
Yes, we do.
So it's facebook.com/White Harvest Seed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, there you go. So, folks, you can get to their website or to their Facebook page. Make sure that you do that and you like their Facebook page, because that helps them. Every story that they post, it helps spread it across, all of those people who like it. It also helps to spread that word to them. So do the same for ours, by the way. You can get onto their Facebook page and click the like button. And so it's facebook.com/White Harvest Seed. And again, whiteharvestseed.com if you want to go direct to their website where they've got a blog, all kinds of resources, all kinds of information. So, Mike, before we wrap here, if you could just correct me on this. I was always under the impression that you were supposed to take these tomato seeds and that gooey stuff that comes with them, and you're supposed to basically soak them in water for a couple of days until that begins to smell like death. Then clean them and get that off of them, and then dry them out thoroughly. Is that not correct?
That is exactly right. You essentially, that jelly stuff, if it stays on the seed, it will prevent that seed from germinating. So you want to fermentate it off, and that's what you described in that putting it in the water in a warm environment for 3 days, stirring it up every day, and all the good seed will sink to the bottom, and all the stuff that floats on top and the seed that floats on top, just throw that away. And then you just automatically let nature separate the seed for you right then and there.
Great. So nature separated the wheat from the chaff?
Exactly. Yep.
So now, is that also where you would utilize hydrogen peroxide to help boost the germination? Would that help for a tomato seed or no?
I haven't used that on tomato seed. I don't think you'd really need to. If you get a good fermentation, if that you get, like you said, that nasty stuff that forms to the top. If it gets moldy and it'll look nasty like pond scum, and if it's
smells
nasty,
awful.
it's been correctly. You've done it correctly, so you don't need it there.
Okay,
now on peppers, you don't have that jelly stuff to work with.
Right. So this is really geared more towards the peppers, eggplant, beets, cucumber, squash, melon, spinach, okra.
Probably more for just the pepper line is what I have used it on myself and that have had the results from.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So, listen, I want to thank you very much for joining with us this morning. You've kind of enlightened our audience about, your company, which I think you guys are doing a great job out there. And you're local. I really like that. I want to make sure that our folks are supporting people in their area because, one, you have a vested interest in making sure that our product, your products are successful in our gardens, which is really important. Two, you're a local resource for those folks who, call up and say, hey, I got this cutworm. What do I do with it, right?
Right.
And in addition to that, you're local enough where we can immediately get access to seed, and we know that we can keep replicating business with you. So I really appreciate you joining with us and educating our listenership about that. Folks, if you have questions that you'd like to ask of Mike, I'll make sure I give this information out right after Mike jumps off the line with us. So, Mike, thank you again for your participation. I greatly appreciate it. And
it's been my pleasure.
I'm hoping that I'll see you at the next Ozark Self-Reliant University program. I know that you've attended a few of those, and the feedback I got from everybody that was there when you did your talks was very, very positive. So
I appreciate that. Yeah, have Mike and Debbie contact me, and we'll see if we can get the schedule worked out to fit in some busy schedules on our end.
You got it. Well, keep up the good work, Mike, and thank you so much for your participation in our self-reliance and our there's lots of folks who aren't interested in prepping, but they are interested in being self-reliant about their food supply, and quite frankly, many of us just absolutely have to because we can't afford to keep going to the grocery store. I mean, the price is just skyrocketing. So this is a great way you can buy some seed and turn it into something far greater than that.
You bet.
So,
you bet.
Hey, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. So, folks, that was Mike from White Harvest Seed Company. His company specializes in working with the heirloom seeds, and his website again is whiteharvestseed.com. I got a couple of emails the other day for people asking about heirloom seeds and where they can go. Well, this is one of the locations where you can go. It's White Harvest Seed Company, whiteharvestseed.com. You can also find them on the web at on their Facebook page at facebook.com/whiteharvestseed. And then you can also, of course, call them. Their telephone number is 866-424-3135. If you have any questions, you're certainly welcome to contact them via email as well, and they'll be more than happy to answer your questions for you. They have these two kits they call heirloom seed kits. They're called Basic Survival and Large Survival Kits, and they are full of seed pods these are like $40 and $50, folks. So it's not like you got to throw your lungs at this thing to get these. The cool part is you can either start using them immediately, or maybe buy two and use one now and keep one in the back where you can. They come in a waterproof sealed package, and so you can keep them for another day when you might need to be able to utilize them in another location. So, and of course, these are heirloom seeds, so they'll grow year after year after year. Okay, I just want to do a couple of quick roundup things before we hit the end of our show. If you were not available Saturday, we had Peter Kinder on, Lieutenant Governor, and we were talking about this RFID issue and the fact that Real ID is being instituted in Missouri by the Department of Revenue through motor vehicle. They are working directly against the law. There was a law passed by Missouri in 2009 that said no part of the Real ID Act may be instituted or implemented in the state of Missouri, and they are operating in direct violation of that law. And so there was a lawsuit filed. There's a temporary restraining order barring Stoddard County from utilizing until they can get to a regular hearing on the 12th of March. Excuse me. And what we're looking for are a couple of things. If you live in a county here in Missouri and you go down to the motor vehicle license office and you ask to renew your license and they want to scan in your birth certificate or your CCW card holder information, then that is the violation right there. In other words, they're taking all this information and they're passing it on to third parties, and that is an absolute unacceptable violation of your privacy. And so we're looking for citizens who want to, one, be a participant county by county by county and be a plaintiff in these lawsuits. And then secondarily, and this may be even more important, we're looking for individuals who work for the Department of Revenue or work for the fee offices where you get your license renewed within the state of Missouri, who are understanding and familiar with what's going on here and have inside knowledge and are willing to act as a whistleblower. Now, Lieutenant Governor Kinder made it clear that he would be more than willing to offer protection for any whistleblower who works with either a fee office or directly for the Department of Revenue, so that you would not have to be worried about losing your job and some of the other negative things that can happen, basically recrimination or retribution by the Department of Revenue against you for telling the truth in an area where they are absolutely and blatantly violating the law. If you have information or you're a member of a fee office or the DOR and you would like to participate with Kinder and this overall project and the investigation that's going on, please make sure that you send me an email to mike@americasvoicenow.org. Your information will remain 100% secure. I will do nothing other than contact Kinder's office directly, communicate with him, make sure that that information is not public, and you will have absolutely 100% privacy. Okay, we have our reloading class coming up on the 30th of this month, and if you or your family members are interested in learning how to reload metallic cartridges, please make sure that you contact me immediately at mike@americasvoicenow.org. That, by the way, is the generic email for me. You can send me anything that you want to that email address. My one request is that you put something in the subject line that tells me what you're contacting me about, because otherwise I just get hundreds and hundreds of emails. It's very difficult to track them all. So if you can send me an email, if you're related to this Department of Revenue or fee office thing, just put something in there that tells me what you're communicating with me about. If you are interested in our reloading program and you would like to learn how to reload cartridges, please make sure that you send me an email immediately to mike@americasvoicenow.org and put reload or something like that in the subject line, just so I know what that's about. We'll be getting information out to those folks immediately. We have a few slots left open for our Tactical 1 class, our TAC 1 2-day pistol course. And so if you are interested in that TAC 1 pistol course, that's a 2-day event happening on the 23rd and the 24th. And we are running out of seats fast. So please make sure that you immediately contact me and let me know that you want to take that. It's $175. You're going to need 750 to 800 rounds of ammunition. And that program will basically give you the skill set to be a pistol smith. And not a gunsmith, I mean, but, an expert at handling and marksmanship, handling, safety, carrying, drawing, presentation, all the different issues you need to know about tactical use of a pistol. Okay. Also, if you are interested in our cooperative program, we've had our first order taken. It was an absolute slam-bang success. And if you want to participate in our co-op, please send me an email to mike@americasvoicenow.org. Put co-op in the subject line. I'll get you all the information you need to participate in that. We had one visitor or one purchaser who actually said that he did the comparison and saved 50% on his food bill for those items. So it is an absolute great opportunity for you. Please make sure that you take care of it. It's one of the benefits. There's no cost to you. It's one of the benefits of listening to America's Voice Now. You can find us on the web at americasvoicenow.org. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. Please make sure that you fill out your witness forms for the healthcare policy agenda that is being held on this week. And put your comments in about blocking Obamacare, and also make sure that you're putting in your witness form for SB 325, the Senate bill version. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
News Talk for Missouri and Arkansas. 107.1 KBMV, Birch Tree, West Plains. The Point.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. A trip to a police station turns deadly for U.S. forces in Afghanistan. Fox News Radio's Emily Wither following this live.
It appears